Derek Mason's probably the coach on the hottest seat in the SEC East. 2 disappointing years. I would say that Stoops probably a little bit more than Mason just because of the situation of Vanderbilt not being a traditional football school. They went through 4 quarterbacks last year. They have a freshman that's a little bit mobile, can play in that offense. He did not impress passing last year. They were atrocious on offense last year. Had a decent defense. Derek Mason, of course, the defensive coordinator at Stanford, coming over. Vanderbilt's always had a pretty decent, strong defense. That's always been their strong point. But their offense last year was absolutely horrible. I see no reason why they're going to get better, and I'm not sure. I'm not sure Vanderbilt wins a single conference game this year. To be honest with you.
And I don't know if it was the Eastern Division, South Carolina way down last year, but Mizzou way down last year from what we saw in 2014 or 13 and 14. But Vandy looked, at least in the standings, much improved. David, maybe not so much.
Yeah, I mean, it's just another one of those teams that's really struggling on offense. But let's not forget that Vandy defense. I'll give them every bit of credit. That defense kept them in, most games they probably shouldn't have been in. It was the first game where they went to Gainesville. It was, after it was Treon Harris's first game where he pretty much struggled. And ever since that Vandy game, Florida struggled after that. And so it was kind of a sign of things to come. But Vanderbilt's defense, they stepped up to the plate on the big national stage that day and almost upset the Gators. But, going back to the offensive side of the ball, well, I'll go back to defense. They don't lose too many starters. So the defense, they're going to be good again. Mason, that's his side of the ball. That's his forte. So, how much better can they be? They're going to need to be a lot better for Vanderbilt to win some games. Quickly, on the offensive side of the ball, can Kyle Shermer really be the quarterback? They really, they brought in Johnny McCreary. They really thought he was the guy. They brought him in from Georgia a couple years ago, but no, he was not. It's another team in the SEC with a very bad quarterback situation. And it doesn't look to get much better. They do have a pretty good running back in Ralph Webb. Can they build around him? But that's really about all they have.
Right, Chad, you're the lucky one. You're hitting cleanup on Vandy.
Thanks. Look, David made a really good point. The defense was solid for Vanderbilt last year, and it really did keep them. They were 6th in the SEC when it came to to the end of the year. They did limit some people to about 5.17 yards. Again, they gave up about 350 yards per game. And if it wasn't for the defense, and like you said, a lot of that was Mason's voice being echoed on the field, so we got to see that. But the offense, much like Missouri. That being said, Missouri was worse than Vanderbilt, so keep that in mind offensively. You got Shermer, you got Ralph Webb. It's a promising combination for Andy Ludwig, so we're kind of curious to see how that's going to work. The line itself, their offensive line, Andrew Delk is coming back. That's a guy you want to watch. He had season-ending knee injury the year before. Then, of course, Derek Mason back at the defense. I believe last year Vanderbilt allowed only 21 points a game, and I think they limited opponents to about 5.2 yards per play. So it's going to be really interesting to see what happens there. Plus, they bring back all SEC linebacker Zach Cunningham. So I think that defense is going to be pretty solid. But that being said, under Derek Mason so far, the offense has just been absolutely atrocious, and that's just something where, if Ralph Webb, the running back, was on a different SEC team, we'd be talking about him in a completely different light and in a different conversation. But he's a lot of the reason why they've had some success on their offense, period, because their passing attack is just non-existent, and defense is what's kept them in a lot of games. A lot of teams didn't want to have to face that defense because you didn't want to be the team that had to lose to Vanderbilt because the offense was that bad.